Oh my goodness, the backup is brought to you by the best evil person we know, Mussolini. No, sorry, Evil Spy Boy. Evil Spy Boy brings us the backup today. Get your exclamation mark
ideas.
Spy Boys out in the chat. Because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup, and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank is Australia's largest food relief organisation, providing 88 million meals a year, that's 241,000 meals a day, to more than 2,600 charities around the country, accounting for 79% of all food received by charities from food rescue organisations. And Food Bank also provides regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools around the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 children seek food relief from those charities every single month. So Evil Spy Boy wants you to take a little of your hard-earned cash, and if you've got any to spare, then toss it to Food Bank. Donate at foodbank.org.au. And Nightbot has hopefully done its thing. And if you just go exclamation mark Spy Boy, you'll get the link to that right there to make it even easier. So thank you very much.
There you go. Can we add to the end of that? Become the charity donator sponsor you didn't know you already were. Is that a catchphrase?
Yeah, it's something like that. For these people. For these people.
I said news people. News sponsoring people. Not
yeah, right. People. Yes, totally. All right. Let's jump into the news. Starting off with something, well, look, it's either the biggest news story to happen in a year, or it's nothing, and we're all just wasting our time. But isn't wasting our time
That's what we do here?
80% of video game news is? Last week, there was apparently a very big Nvidia leak. So Nvidia's GeForce software. Someone sort of dug around in some GeForce software files and found a list of games that apparently are coming to the service, so will be supported by GeForce at some point in the future. And of course, this would not particularly be news if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of these games are games that have never been on PC before, have not been announced, and in some cases, we didn't even think would ever exist. So, Peter, do you want to speculate? Because we could go through this list of games, but Nvidia is saying this is speculative and only used for internal stuff. But there's some really big names on this. Do you reckon Nvidia is telling the truth on this one?
It's hard to tell. I think they probably are, if not officially, then are working on driver optimization for some of these titles, whether they know they're coming or not. You would think it would be a waste of time to optimize drivers for these titles if they weren't coming. But with things like some Sony titles that may or may not come to PC, we've already had a couple. So maybe it's as part of the process of going what is Death Stranding doing that we need our drivers to handle? The God of War probably does the same. God of War probably does a lot of similar things.
Sure.
So maybe that's why things like God of War and Demon's Souls appear on that list.
Stress testing their driver optimization for future products. Is that kind of what you're going with?
Look, this is my devil's advocate of going
sure,
maybe this is why they even bothered writing those title names down in this file, was to go hey, it's a possibility. These are all possibilities because of previous action by Sony.
Because and we should say some of the games on this list, there's quite a few Sony games: Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, Returnal, Demon's Souls, Ratchet and Clank, though it's not specified which game, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Ghost of Tsushima. So these are all titles that are Sony exclusives that have never been spoken about coming to PC. Microsoft, they've got Gears 6 listed here. Gears 6 doesn't even exist according to, I'm sure we will get a Gear 6, but there's been no official confirmation of that.
I'm pretty sure there's production up to Gears 12 already, just slowly on the burn, ready to go. But
Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Final Fantasy 9 Remake, some unannounced title by Square, and then you've got GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas remasters, which have been announced, a BioShock's RTX remaster, and then something that's just called BioShock 2022, which the last time we heard about BioShock, they were hiring, I think, a story designer. So I don't know if that person has the greatest work ethic of all time and, and has managed to put together that story in the last 6 months. And then the king hit here, Titanfall 3. Titanfall 3. Yeah. It's just a name casually dropped in this text document.
So the other thought that I had, and Miss Silver pointed out in the chat, was that surely Nvidia is just trolling in case of leaks. So the idea being that there might be, this file may need to exist for some reason and include things like Bioshock 2022 that is real, and then they've just filled it with noise
they can think of
to mask the fact that there's some real stuff in here. If this file needs to exist for some reason, I don't know what they do, but
is that a comment on the fact that like even your sort of established tech companies know that like there's no way to lock down when you have to patch something and give people access to it, be it a driver update. There is just no way to 100% say we can lock down information that can't be found, trawled through, and Pete, this is the new version of this is how we deal with it. We're like, we know we can't keep this behind lock and key because someone will find a different key for it.
It could be because it's such a big part of it. Even talking to the Destiny 2 devs the other day, part of the thing that didn't end up in the interview was this idea that like there's like so many leaks that happen right with Destiny, and their encryption isn't always up to like the latest, right? Like they're constantly getting people mining data from their code. But it's like it's a part of the dev team needs to be encrypting your files and making sure they have the latest encryption on them, because it's like it's a losing battle, and it's what a money sink. Just because people want to pull shit apart, and it's like people are always going to pull shit apart. So maybe the red herring option is the just flooding your files with false information is easier.
It's nothing but herrings.
Yeah.
So one of the big things about this, I did see some speculation that perhaps someone who works at Nvidia is responsible for driver updates, whatever, and what they have is this document that has just like joke names on it that they assign to different programs that they're testing. So they might be testing like, I don't know, Photoshop as being something that's supported in some way with a driver. And instead of calling it Photoshop, they call it Titanfall 3. Because they're like, that's funny, every time I click Titanfall 3, it just launches Photoshop. And this is just this like dumb joke of someone who like admit, like this is what Will would do, right? This is Will. He would name it all fake Marvel movies if he had this kind of job. And then it would just be like, it would pop up and go
Ant-Man 7.
Exactly. But if it is real, this has to be one of the bigger video game leaks we've had in a very, very long time. There is some legitimacy to the idea that like some of this, like Sony is already heading in this direction. Some of the code names that have been referenced here do link to real games. Project Holland is something that's referenced, and that links to Fable. Project Typhoon links to Contraband, the game that we saw a trailer for about 6 months ago. Project Woodstock is apparently linked to Forza. There is some like insider information happening with this that like, they do have at least some code names for games that are real. So
Project Natal, the greatest code name ever.
Of course, thank you very much. But yeah, it is wild if this is real, and I really hope it is real. Not for
Titanfall 3.
For Titanfall 3. I hope it's real for Titanfall 3. And also, like, the idea of, Demon Souls on PC, that's great. God of War on PC. I'm sure that at some point they will happen. But the idea of, like, Titanfall 3, a game that I genuinely was like, Respawn aren't going to go back to this. They're too successful with Apex. It was too much of a struggle to get those first two made in the first place. And I don't know what Bioshock 22 is, but I want it to be something. Yeah. So this is either wild or nothing.
Yeah, there's no way to leave this by being like, we're excited about the leaks, and I'm intrigued by the idea of how they have to work out, if it's the opposite, how they have to work out ways to muddy the waters and to cover your tracks, so to speak, as developers or as designers, to then say, no, you just can't find our information. We're gonna lean into it and throw too much misinformation out there, because that's what we need more of these days.
Because there is on this list, Mario and Rabbids is on there as well. It's like, that doesn't feel like something that's going to happen. That doesn't. I mean,
Strange.
well, I guess the only thing is that it's Ubisoft.
It
So
could end up on Uplay.
yeah, but yeah, I do like that idea of the
Ubisoft Connect.
putting like chaff in here in the same way that you get like a really big sequel and to a film, and then they're like, so we actually shot every character. We shot a scene of every character dying, so you don't actually know which one dies at the end of the movie.
Or MasterChef, how they shoot everyone's winning
Everyone dying
episode.
at
Exactly.
MasterChef, and then
Oh,
they don't
God.
know who actually dies.
Imagine
Brutal.
that. How could you muster the emotions for that?
But,
I know, poor Poe.
Oh,
I mean, but ultimately, Poe. I
Poe
feel
win?
like Poe had. What? No, Poe came second, but Poe.
Oh.
It has been the most, like, one of the most successfuls to come out.
Poe's
of
the
it, I would
ultimate
say.
winner. Yeah, like
Yeah.
long term. I mean, Shannon Knoll.
She got her
another
own kitchen.
success story.
ultimate winner.
She did.
Shannon, no.
It's about time. Shannon Knoll, ultimate winner. I don't want to trash talk Shannon Knoll because I loved him in that first season of Australian Idol, but I do wonder what he's doing right now.
I thought you were going to
Strippers.
say because he'll come after you because he's right. He's been through some rough stuff
I
recently.
remember. He threw a
So-
glass at somebody.
Did he?
Yeah, I believe so. Am I right, Gus? I think that.
I think he's done worse.
Call
He's
it,
been
mate.
like caught. He's been caught at the front of pubs, like assaulting people and stuff. So Nick, just play
Yeah,
cool.
right.
We love
Okay,
him. We
cool.
love him.
We
He's
love
still
Shannon
got
Knoll
that
here on the
fancy
show.
car, hasn't he?
No, he
Yes.
sold that.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Okay, let's move on from the Shannon Knoll talk. So Nvidia, we will be watching it, and God, no matter what, I just feel sorry for the person who created this list. They're just sitting there, like if it's real, then it's fine because like this is all real, and there's nothing that could be done about it. It needed to be there. But if it's not real, it's just like, oh, this person has caused a lot of angst at multiple, because like all of these companies now, all these developers for years, it'll be like Titanfall 3.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Say
Anytime,
something.
anytime any publisher gets on a call with anyone at Nvidia, it's just gonna be like, "You're not gonna like this, are you?" Just gonna be. They're not gonna live this shit down, man.
No, seriously.
This is a good reason to switch over to AMD. All right. Another leak, staying with the leaky ships. Call of Duty Vanguard is not even out yet. And we already apparently know what Call of Duty next year is going to be. There was a leak from Tom Henderson, who is a pretty well-known insider who got all the information right about Vanguard a few weeks ago before they announced it. He tweeted that Call of Duty 2022 is codenamed Project Cortez. It is expected to be a sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare reboot and will include a campaign featuring US Special Forces fighting Colombian drug cartels. A little side note, Gus, before I get a temperature check from you about this. Project Cortez was part of this week's GeForce Now data mine, with Infinity Ward slated to be the developer.
So there you go. Backing up that last story.
There you go.
Everything about Nvidia is true. So forget the speculation. Yeah, cool. I mean, this was like my favorite Call of Duty, the Modern Warfare reboot, and so I'm pumped to see a sequel to it. I'm not surprised that we're doing that. We're doing the flip back and forth between Modern Warfare and a period or a set piece around some other time in history. So this would be cool. This isn't relevant to the game or the information, but when does someone like a Tom Henderson stop being someone who can predict everything really well and just start being someone who's shit at being told secrets or information? And like, when does a leaker become
Tom Henderson
like,
is sitting in meetings with Jason Schreier going like, "This isn't a spoiler, but."
Yeah, totally. Like, if it's one person continually leaks information, surely they clamp down on that journo or whoever it is and say, like, okay, we're just not going to give you any information. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Well, I mean, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're being
I
funny.
know. Yeah,
But yes,
Yeah.
It's not like
I
Tom
just-
Henderson is this reporter who turns up with a mustache.
the trench coat. Like, it was Tom all along. Yeah, no, look, this would be cool. They did such a great job with that, and I would argue that the campaign, obviously, we all had mixed to sort of negative feelings about the campaign from Cold War, and I think the campaign in Modern Warfare was, as I said, the best in COD's history. So hopefully we see that. And yeah, going from, I guess, globe-trotting global conflict to something a little more focused, being like cartel based. I'm assuming a lot of missions between the US and border. Like, hopefully it's all tasteful and it's not like, you know,
There ain't nothing tasteful about Call of Duty or the cartels, mate. This is
well,
about
not so much. Just hopefully it's not full of stereotypes and enforcing, you know, sort of cliches and things that aren't going to help people's attitudes towards anyone who's not American.
If there's not a tortoise walking through the desert with a decapitated head on it, it's not a cartel game.
I thought you were going to make a Blade Runner reference. Yeah, that's true. So, look, I think it'll be a cool setting for it and that kind of stuff as well. And I assume this is back to Infinity Ward doing this.
They've got it listed as Infinity Ward as the developer on their GeForce Now thing. But it's Infinity Ward's turn to do it. Yeah. So, yeah.
And in that sense, and we've spoken about this at length, Nick, I really like their take on the game, the engine, whatever. It's getting to a point where I forget what it is that each one of them does better. I know you don't love that as much for the multiplayer, but I feel like I actually really like Infinity Ward's kind of like take on the engine and how it plays. So yeah, I'm pumped for this. It'll be good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I forget that these come out annually as well. It's like, yeah, this is just next year's game. It's not even that long to wait in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like we'll know about it in a year's time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Groovy.
Pete, you liked Modern Warfare, right?
Yeah. I like the campaign. I'm kind of done with COD multiplayer. I played so much of it a decade ago that I don't
totally
need it in my life anymore. But
I do wonder if by that time it comes out, we will have all converted back to Halo multiplayer, because we've talked about that at length as well. The idea that like new Halo is ready to set me up to play a different style of multiplayer online shooter, and COD's going to have this is essentially going to be this up against Halo, back to the old COD versus Halo multiplayer days. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I think I still don't think it's necessarily going to be a competition. I think COD is going to...
No. I meant a fun rivalry between which style of shooter you like playing, you know, with a bunch of mates.
I just want options. So. It'd be nice if they're both good.
Miss Silver says,
from Peter.
bets on Danny Trejo making a stereotypical appearance.
He's turning up in Far Cry 6. They've dropped a trailer for Danny Trejo?
Trejo, I think it's Trejo.
So Danny Trejo, and the DLC for it is called like Two Dannys, because you're Danny Rojas or Danny Rohan or whatever it is.
Yeah,
in Far
right.
Cry. And so there's the mission where the two Dannys go around, and he's got his machete, and so he's already in that. He could turn up in this.
Nice.
I don't want to wade into something, so I'm just going to put this out there that no one needs to actually respond. It's fine. That's a terrible way to start.
Yeah,
that's not a way to say I'm going to say something.
Now I'm tense.
But I don't want to be called. I don't want to be called out on it.
No, I was just going to say because I totally agree with the idea of bets on Danny Trejo making a stereotypical appearance. But if all Danny Trejo does is play the character that he always plays, and he is
waiting into something
Latino background. I'm just wondering, is it like that's Danny Trejo? I feel like we need to. That's anyway. I'm just putting that out there as being like I've literally never seen the man do anything else. I feel like that is
he's been typecast.
One note. Yeah, but true. But even in real life, I see him, and it's like he never changes.
He definitely is in the same way that Jason Statham is the same character. It's because that's all that human being is.
Bodies.
Yes.
It's like that's who they are as a person. As actors, I'm sure they could do something else, but they've been typecast into these roles that are so themselves that it's just easy. So I don't know. I'm sure they'd love to try other things, but
put him in a musical. That's
Call of Duty's not going to let him try something new.
But Call of Duty's not going to let him sing. Let Danny sing.
He just wants to work for the CIA in this game.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Moving on now. Oh, and just to cap that off, I did see a news story, Activision Blizzard, and I was like, oh, here we go. And just thought it would be worth mentioning here. They're being sued again. And this time for labor violations. Apparently, the suit claims that Activision Blizzard has engaged in coercive and intimidating behavior as employees fought to openly discuss pay discrepancy and their desire to end forced arbitration. It's unclear when this is apparently supposed to have taken place, but the lawsuit comes after the July lawsuit regarding the sexual harassment culture. So, along with the idea of...
Are the contents of the suit from after recent... developments as well, or from like
it did. I
spanning
couldn't
years?
find that. I think that I feel like it's been before then, and I only say that knowing how long it takes to turn this stuff around to start getting some like action going. That I figure it's probably been before the previous stuff broke in July. But Activision continuing to just apparently be the worst place to work.
It does. It does just quickly, like as a little note at the end of this, and nothing really specific to Activision, but it does make you wonder about when the right time to launch these lawsuits against companies that are either like dealing. I'm purely curious on a sort of on a legal standpoint. Like, is it a 1-2 punch kind of setup that goes like, this company is currently dealing with something shit they've done? Is that the best time to put the next lawsuit on them that is dealing with something just as impactful? Like, does that put the pressure on them to then have to deal with all of it at once? That fascinates me as well.
Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Activision employ 20 lawyers,
and
if we can split it so that 10 are working on this case and 10 are working on the other case, they're going to be half as efficient.
I think
no.
I think they'll get more lawyers.
I don't think they have the money, Pete. I don't think they have the money to hire more lawyers. But apparently they do have the money to hire more lawyers because they haven't been paying their employees correctly, according to this lawsuit.
Yes, funny joke aside, like I think that immediately, but I know that's not how it works in the real world. But it is that thing about just a company's reputation as well. Like they are getting more and more spotlights shone on them about things. At what point does that turn into, we need to fast track cases, get them through, start cleaning up our act in different ways? I'd just be fascinated to be a fly on the wall as long as I wasn't involved in anything.
Yeah, as long as you didn't say anything, or you were being paid to be a fly and they weren't paying you enough.
Exactly.
Moving on now to our next story.
Speaking of horrible places to work.
Allegedly.
Quantic
Dream have been released from their 3-game deal with Sony. Not because of anything, they just had a 3-game deal and it's up. They made Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human for Sony, and reportedly have now signed a deal with Disney and are rumored to be making a Star Wars game. Peter. Let's say David Cage has some positives and negatives when it comes to the ways that he tells stories.
Yep.
Do you want him to be flexing those muscles on a Star Wars game?
I don't see why the team at Quantic Dream couldn't do a good job of telling a story in the Star Wars universe. I always feel like they're very small stories. These like what Quantic Dream do, they're intimate and focused, which is good. I think that's really suitable for Star Wars. I think a problem with Star Wars games is that they're like, we can explore everything when instead of focusing on something small and intimate like the first Star Wars film did. Like it's about 3 people kind of, a band of people traveling around in this huge universe. So I think they could be well suited to tell a little intimate story. I don't love the execution of these games. They always feel a bit clunky to me, and particularly with what was the one they did before Detroit? Beyond Two Souls. It's like decisions were meaningless, and I think that's part of a frustration of it. But I think they can execute something that looks good and has some story depth, and I think they can execute an 8 out of 10 game for sure. And Star Wars needs that. Star Wars could use an 8 out of 10.
The flexibility of storylines that can break, like, because that is kind of, I guess, a thing that sums up a lot of the Quantic Dream productions. As you said, it's multiple choices, therefore it's splitting narratives, it's coming up with choice and decision. Like, I'd be surprised if that didn't play a part whatsoever in any future game they make. And like, for me, I'm with you, Pete, that often leads to a slightly watered down story that always then feels cheap when it has to put it back on the rails, so to speak. And I wonder if like something as beloved as Star Wars, whereas the previous games have always been interesting concepts, and the world that they've created is interesting, whereas Star Wars, that's all fully formed. And then do you lose some of the interest if then suddenly your stories have to be a little weak sauce because they have to involve choice and still get to the same plot points?
I mean, Knights of the Old Republic famously has multiple endings. Force Unleashed.
Well, it has a lot of choices, and it gets you to an ending that everyone experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's true.
I think I think there's more branching ideas in Detroit than there were, because it's more about like replaying. It's more like a time loop game as opposed to Beyond Two Souls, which had a narrative for a single character to get through. This was like, I haven't played through Detroit, but my understanding was it's all in the same apartment, right? Basically, it's just like the choices that you make along the way affect kind of version. No, there's more than one chapter.
Oh, it's a full.
Oh, are you being serious or not?
Yeah. I have no idea what Detroit is.
Oh no. There's like
it's a full
three
story
characters.
I've only ever watched this trailer.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really interesting. Detroit. So I don't know how you feel, Gus. I think Detroit is great.
I've never played it, but I've looked at a lot of it, and I've got a copy of it waiting to play. It's actually I think it's a PlayStation free if you've got PS5, or it's that one as well.
Yeah, the PlayStation Plus collection. No, Detroit's really good. It suffers from the thing that all of I'll say Quantic, but it feels like David Cage is the main storyteller behind this stuff. It suffers from the same things that all the other games do, which is they sort of attempt to tackle a really, really big theme and then often hand wave away a lot of the like emotional stuff behind it. They kind of like treat it quite, I guess, glibly would be the word I'm looking for.
Right, sure.
But this one I think was the most effective, and the way that the stories tie together is really effective. Yeah, I really, really like Detroit. I actually think that this could be really, really cool, because I think that Star Wars, and talk about whether or not the recent series of Star Wars movies have been narratively successful, but I just don't think Disney and Star Wars are going to say to Quantic, you could just do whatever you want with this. Like, they're going to go, we're going to have a really heavy hand in the story. So therefore, technically, I think that these could be really, really fun, because the games always look great. The gameplay was the best in Detroit, I think, out of all three of them, in terms of really weaving together the idea of like, yes, it's mainly just quick time, but it did have the sense of a film and mixed in with your gameplay, as opposed to that sort of like very jilted, everyone has a slow reaction in a conversation when you're pressing a button style thing. So if you had that, but with something that with like Star Wars-y action, like you said, Pete, hopefully a more focused and intimate story, which you kind of have to do in these games where you are giving so many choices, it could be really good. Because I would love another Detroit style game.
I should sit down and actually play that one. But for me, the only thing I'll say at the end of this as well is that, like, I feel like you know how you grow out of something that you liked as a kid? I feel like I'm doing that now with Star Wars. The period just shifted. So it was one of those things that, like, I was really into, like, in my early teens and stuff. And it's like, it's just taken me longer to grow out of it. And part of that is the more material or the more product that tends to be made around it. Every time something new Star Warsy comes out, it like chips away at my overall, not love for it, but it's just, I become more and more nostalgic for what it was. And I'm not excited by Star Wars anymore. It's sad. I'm not just being an old grumpy person who's like, it's not good anymore. There are cool little stories and possibilities for games and narratives and stuff. It's become something that doesn't have that spark for me anymore. And I wonder if, like, telling a really focused little narrative story in that universe, the idea of it being in the Star Wars universe doesn't hold the same weight as it used to for me, which is sad, because I would love this game to be one that makes me feel that Knights of the Old Republic style, that, you know, energy for it as much as I want to. Yeah, Gus hates.
Welcome to the dark side, Gus.
I mean, that doesn't even interest me as a quote anymore, Nick. So whatever. But yeah,
Pete? Yeah. All I'll say is, you've stopped enjoying things that are made specifically for, like, targeted to kids. Like, yes, that makes sense. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's heaps of Star Wars that I love, and heaps of Star Wars that I have never even consumed because it doesn't interest me at all. Like, I haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels or anything like that because I'm just not interested. So it's like, you can just like the things that are to your taste, because that's, I think, the beauty of what Star Wars has become, is that there are things that are a bit more adult. The movies like Rogue One and stuff that are like cinematically interesting, even if they're still wrapped up in the idea of it being Star Wars. You know, I know you like The Mandalorian heaps more than I do, but it's like it's fun little kind of like Monster of the Week style things. It's like there's something in the Star Wars universe like pitched to every corner, and that, you know, that's part of like the scary part of the Disney engine, but it's also part of the great part of the Disney engine, which means that stories in that universe can be told across a bunch of different audiences, which I think is cool.
My version of that rant is terribly Gus focused, in the sense that it's like, for as much as I like The Mandalorian, every episode of I watched, it took off some of the sheen of Star Wars because it was just more things being made in that space. It stopped being special the more I find out about it, which is the Disney thing, which is what happens. It's like they're going to make more of it all the time. I think I'm going to be excited about it. I watch it. I think it's fine. And then I just feel a little more numb to the but that's just me being...
You're putting Star Wars on a pedestal.
Which is what I am.
Yeah, you are.
It never belonged on a pedestal.
Yeah.
It was just like a joyous time we had when we were kids watching these movies.
It's really like Pokemon.
Was.
Yeah.
I did see some people in chat talking about Detroit and saying that the racism allegory in it was sort of like clumsily handled or obvious. And I definitely agree. Though I will say that I think even if it's clumsy, I think that going for it is worth something. And I do think that that's part of the Quantic thing is they don't get the execution right, but at least they're going for it in a way that has something that puts some sort of conversation into the space. And I think that it's also while it can be really clumsy, I know, like, think about if you're a racist, not all racists are necessarily like attuned to nuanced storytelling. So if you can be stupid enough to be heavily racist, then you're not necessarily catching subtle allegory. And so therefore being smacked in the face with something way more obvious might be more effective to someone who, again, is
they're talking to the people
or
who thought,
ignorant enough to be racist in the first place.
Yeah, that thought American History X was a white power film.
Yes, the people who think that the story of Fight Club is that we we should tear the whole thing down and that start a Fight Club. Like,
that's the worry, though. They play Detroit and they're like, "Oh man, I'm more racist than ever now." And you're like, "No."
Yes, yeah, totally. That 100%. But yeah, I do think
I
that,
agree with where you're going with it, yeah.
I think that attempting to tackle that, as opposed to like, because even if it was clumsy, it was like, this is the drive of the story. It's a racism. It's a racism allegory, as opposed to like one character has mentioned one thing in like just some dumb action game, and it's like, oh god, this is like so dumb.
You're
At
right,
least
not getting
was
it
like
perfect.
Yeah,
in their
don't
game
let perfect be the enemy of good. Don't let good be the enemy of perfect, or whatever whatever it is, I didn't even get it right.
Enemy
and
good.
That's the beauty. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Thank you. So yeah, cool. Anyway, we'll see. This could all amount to nothing, but what I do know is that we're gonna get so many goddamn Star Wars games, Gus, over the next few years, because once that EA license sort of like expired, just everyone is signing up to make a Star Wars game. So just seems like guaranteed money at this point.
I'll only get grumpier.
You will only get grumpier, but something that could make you happier is that, in fact, I know it didn't.
Oh.
I thought it did, because you even brought this up on Thursday, that Nintendo have somehow finally decided to patch in Bluetooth support in all Switches in their latest software update, so that you can now use Bluetooth headphones with any Nintendo Switch. Even the OG launch Switch will work with Bluetooth headphones. Gus, you tried this, but apparently it hasn't made you happy.
No, it hasn't made me happy for two reasons. The first is that they've had the ability to do it this whole time and they didn't do it, which was my immediate reaction to the idea that basically, this was just a software patch. There was no hardware needed. It was inside the Switch all along. And so the decision to do this now begs the question, why? The other reason I was grumpy is because I kickstarted a Bluetooth adapter, like a lot of people bought them. And, this is years ago, like maybe 2-3 years ago. So I have one, the Genki, great little company. Followed them on Kickstarter. Got to look at all their they were really they they have two little colors on the bottom of it, and then they were like, now we have color options, and then they were sending emails like, we don't know what everyone's color options are. Do you want one of these thousands of options of which one it is? And I was like, it was a journey. It was an absolute journey.
It's like if we ran a Kickstarter.
Yeah, totally. And I got that, and it worked really well, but it is still a dongle that you have to put in the bottom. So then for them to come out and do this, I feel bad for the people who've like hung some of their like companies, design on that. They now no longer can do that. However, I used it really briefly the other day, and I used it with my Xbox wireless headphones, which worked fine because they're Bluetooth. And I was like, cool, this is an option I now have. And the information I found out since then, I only used it really quickly. I played a little bit of WarioWare. It was fine, I thought. I wasn't really paying attention to it. You can pair AirPods and that kind of stuff.
You apparently, still need to put the dongle in your bottom?
No, but that might be the better option in the long run because apparently there is I think there is some lag. It is not perfect. It's almost like I'm trying to think of a good example of like when I've used Bluetooth on a device. Maybe like my phone sometimes has a slight delay or a slight lag. But yeah, people have noted
that's Bluetooth. Yeah, Bluetooth for gaming. Bluetooth headsets for gaming on PC.
Yes, yeah, I think it's more closer to that. But people have said it's quite noticeable. And then the other one is obviously that the two Joy-Cons that you use both use Bluetooth to attach, which is probably why there was some hiccup initially that I think.
Can I go and get my door? There's someone at my door. Yeah, it's not a mattress, so I'll
allow me to continue to rant. I think the idea is that you can only use two Joy-Cons with the Bluetooth headsets, so it does use up the allocated like Bluetooth detection slots. So for people who do want to use, I was trying to think of an example of a time that you're traveling with a sibling and you want to listen to the sound. You'd both have to use one headphone, I guess. It's like
this one I was like, that's okay to me because if I'm playing multiplayer, I don't want to be like only I get the audio and you don't. So and I would only need more than two wireless controllers if I'm playing multiplayer. I guess like you said, if you're sitting in the back seat of the car and there's three of you trying to play Smash Brothers, one of you can take an AirPod each, and then the one who sits in the middle. Maybe the one who sits in the middle just gets the screen in the middle.
They get the screen in the middle.
They get the screen, and the other two have to look at it from an angle, but they get the audio. And it's like it all comes out of the wash at that point.
Look, these are really trivial things to go on about, but it's like that's just like, I think, that's a problem that people will sort out. I think the majority of people are using a single pair of headphones with it, and maybe they have a Switch Lite like you do, Nick, so they don't need to worry about that in terms of the pairing. I imagine that the controllers aren't being paired in that case because they're connected to the console physically. Anyway, it's one of those things that's just like, I can't believe they held out this long saying, I believe there were even like sort of these weird statements from Nintendo where they're like, they were kind of hinting at the idea that it couldn't be done or that there wasn't the possibility to do it. So I just feel like there's a little bit of shiftiness going on there. The other thing I would
which is always crazy because it's like, what are you talking about? You've got to look at the adapter in your thing.
Other thing I have not researched at all, and so I'm coming into this one blind if chat knows any better as well, is the idea that I don't think that you can use any Bluetooth-related microphones within your headset.
You cannot.
The chat.
You have to use the chat app on your phone.
You have to use the chat app phone, which infuriates me. Not that there's any games on Switch that I want to play multiplayer, let alone with voice chat, but just to not have the option there.
The principle, damn it.
It's the principle, damn it. And I'll point out that there was even Nintendo do amazing trailers for their for their settings. If you've ever watched the parental control trailer for the Switch, it's all Bowser and Bowser Jr. and it's adorable. It's like a Pixar movie. It's done really well and it's like very straightforward. It shows how it all works. Yeah, cool. And there are all these little characters in that big white neutral matrix empty space, and it's great. The trailer that shows how to use the app to talk to people, the phone floats next to the person using it as a way to illustrate, hey, you just need your phone and you can talk to someone while they're on the phone. And it just floats next to them, like next to their head. I'm like, that's not real life. In real life, you need to open that app. You need to put the phone somewhere on your lap, on the couch, and like yell into a phone across. It's the most impractical, and I doubt anyone's actually using it.
And it is one of those situations where it's like, well, I use Bluetooth headphones with my phone, but now I'm pairing them to my Switch. So now I can't now I'm just yelling into the speakerphone. Yeah, interesting.
So it does feel like something
I would care if I ever used multiplayer voice chat on the Switch.
Totally. So it feels like something that they've done finally as a way of giving in, because maybe it's not optimized perfectly. There's no sound with a microphone, and that has controller issues. So I can see why they've waited this long, I guess. It's just, it's
I don't know why they've done it at all. That's my thing. It's like
Genki adapter out of principle.
They clearly know that it's like, whatever Bluetooth adapter they've got in there is a pretty limited one. It's the right one for the device without doing Bluetooth headphone stuff, but there's nothing else it can handle. So it's like, why even turn it on? To just be a super limited thing that people are just going to be frustrated by, as opposed to.
And like Gus said, like in a world where it's been years since the Switch has come out, and people have come up with ways around it. Like they've backed the Kickstarter thing. Like I've got something that I can plug into the bottom of my Switch that splits audio, so that I can plug in 2 sets of headphones. I've got that. I have a pair of wired headphones specifically just for the Switch, and only it's the only thing that they have.
I mean, maybe there's been rumors about announcing the Switch Pro or the next version or iteration of. So maybe it is just at that point in hardware development for Nintendo that they're like, we are months away from announcing whatever the next version is going to be. Therefore, this just totally is milking the last whatever bit of press and ability that system has. Because you're right, I have the OG Switch. I got it on launch day, and it now has an ability that it didn't have 6 years ago or more. I can't imagine. Yeah, it's insane.
Very weird. But Nintendo's going to Nintendo, and we shouldn't look a gift Nintendo in the mouth. Let's round it out with some game delays and announcements. We got some big delays last week and a couple of little announcements. So the first big one, Battlefield 2042. Officially delayed by about 5 weeks due to unforeseen challenges related to the ongoing pandemic, initially due to launch next month on the 22nd of October, but will now arrive the 19th of November this year, which Pete puts it very squarely into Halo territory.
Yeah, so it'll be 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks before Halo drops. But, it's going to be a feast for shooter fans. We're going to have too many things to play.
Totally. Yep. Scary to delay a game that has 2042 in the title for any headline that you read. Delay 2.
Yeah. No! So quite a late pushback on that one, but it must just be that final polish run. And so 5 weeks, they think, will be enough to get it there. And I believe they're all still working from home at this point. So
yeah, and they've just come out of the back of that. I think it was even pre-alpha. Maybe it was an alpha when they had like select people in playing. So they've had some testing happening, and we have to assume it's reactions to what they've learned from that, which is a good thing.
Which is better than not doing anything.
Totally. You want them to learn things out of that stuff. So
totally. That alpha where each day we would just go to YouTube and watch the next leaked clip and just go, God damn it, why aren't we in this? Dying Light 2, which technically is not a video game, but just a series of delay announcements. Techland has delayed Dying Light 2 from the 7th of December to the 4th of January, 2022. Apparently, the parkour-infused open-world zombie sequel is complete and in playtesting, but needs more time for polish and optimization. Gus, is this game actually ever coming out?
I was excited when I first heard about it, and that was in 2018. So I love that I've totally come off the bandwagon of this, and I don't care about it anymore. So when it comes out, it'll be like a total surprise. I really like the first Dying Light, and I think this will be one of those games, kind of not Cyberpunk-esque, but it'll have that element of you'll play it wondering why they spent so long to make it. I'm sure it'll be a very low-end AAA, very high-end AA. It's not, it's Techland. They are a decent publisher and, decent developer. But I wonder if it's that game I'm going to stare at, and every time I run into even just a small issue with the hit detection or parkour, I'm going to be like, how did they not fix this? They had that much time. But, that's the mean way to criticize game development just from the consumer point of view. But, I'm still looking forward to it.
It is one of those games that, they actually came out and officially said in March this year, I believe, that the sequel was announced too early, because it got announced at the Microsoft's E3 2019. It got announced during E3 at 2018. Then in 2019, it got announced that it was coming in launch of 2020. But then in January 2020, it said it was delayed indefinitely. In May of 2020, reports emerged suggesting that it was being pushed back. In January of this year, they moved forward to reassure fans that after the narrative designer left, that it's still coming out. And then in February, a report came out saying that the project was in trouble, and apparently development was just going absolutely AWOL. And then in March, they were like, we announced it too early. So yeah, we'll see.
The only advantage they have about all the delays is that they've managed to now skirt around the fact that when they announced it, parkour was cool. Then when it was going to come out, parkour stopped being cool. And now it's coming out. Parkour's getting cool again. Yeah,
parkour's getting cool again. A game that was announced recently and will be getting delayed is Rocksmith Plus. Ubisoft announced this at their E3. Was it their E3 showcase? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
This is the game where it teaches you how to play real guitar, and they had a sort of like private invite-only closed beta, and again have taken a lot of learnings from that, particularly around, they said they want to focus on 4 areas: song library, audio inputs, note detection, progression and education, and the UI. So
that's everything.
I believe we'll call that the video game.
Yeah.
So this one is being pushed back from summer 2021, so sometime in the next 3 months, to TBC.
Yeah.
Oh, I never even knew about this. I'm sad now. Because this would be finally the reason I could learn guitar.
You could still pick up the first Rocksmith.
Well, the first Rocksmith is kind of...
No, I have to delay now. I have to wait.
Yeah. The first Rocksmith, its hardware thing was a bit shitty too, and like...
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think, it's just a bit of a challenge. I think it's a really cool idea. It would be really, really cool if they can make something that's actually useful. Like Fender have like an online thing, but it doesn't have really a game element to it. You know, like it really could stand apart as being like a really useful tool for. I think like
because you don't need to plug your guitar in, right?
This looks like it's just using sound, and it looks like it's PC and mobile based from everything this trailer's showing us. Again, I didn't know about this before now, but the previous one needed input. I had an acoustic guitar that I even got a like you can get a string detector that you put behind so you can play acoustically, and like I didn't realize the software in Rocksmith was going to be like it needed a really good input. It needed a really good signal, and so my version of it was a nightmare. But this looks like it's purely to sit down and listen to.
I see recent chat saying, cool, they're competing against free YouTube videos, but literally no one uses free YouTube videos to learn how to play guitar because the free YouTube videos suck. The people that are really successful at YouTube sell their guitar courses,
apps,
and I think and they don't have any way to engage with a UI or with any kind of system beyond person says the thing, shows you how to do the thing, and you copy the person doing the thing, and then you go and do homework. And that homework is practice. I think this is like it could be really, 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 really cool. I hope it works. I hope it.
There are some there's like Guitarly or something. I know it's not called that. But it's like there are some apps that are purely listen based for phones that I've tried a demo of, and it seems like we're at the point now, like, you know, Shazam is so fucking good. It's like these can now note detect so accurately that they can watch you play, and the feedback, as you said, Pete, is actually fun when it can start feeling gamified and that kind of vibe. So yeah, this is cool. I did see at the start of this trailer, it did say you can plug your guitar into your PC or your phone, and then it uses your phone as a way to talk to things. So maybe it's still cable based.
No. You can just sit your phone in front of it, and the speaker, microphone picks up the notes.
So it uses your phone as the mic. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, which is really clever. The Balance AU in chat says that they tried the beta, and unfortunately the library and UI were pretty rubbish. And that they still play Rocksmith 2014. And prefers that. So I guess, you know, that's the reason to have a beta, see what they've learned. And it sounds like that they did learn enough from that beta, which is encouraging. They did learn enough to go like, hey, we're going to overhaul a ton of this, and we're not going to give you another release date. We're just going to figure it out. Because they are, and I think it is important for this one to get right as well, because it's not like you just buy the game. It's a subscription service. So you don't want people just signing up for 1 month for like $14 or whatever, and then going, oh, this is shit. and get rid of it and then go find something else. It's not like you can make your money from the initial purchase. You want people to continue. So I think it's it's in their best interest, obviously, to keep it going. And then a couple of release dates, or one release date and one announcement of a game. Darkest Dungeon 2 is coming to early access on the Epic Games Store on October 26, 2021.
Didn't know that it was even in being made. That's awesome. I freaking love the first Darkest Dungeon. You did too, Nick.
I do. And I love this way of doing the news, which is you learn the news live on the
No,
stream.
I've read this before, but no performance now from
No. I'm just being genuine.
That's fine.
I was like, no, I really meant that. I was like, it's nice giving someone exciting news. It's nice being able to say to someone, hey, something you're excited about is coming out way sooner than you thought it would be coming out. I thought this would be like next year sometime. This is great.
Well, next year's when it's getting Bluetooth support.
And parkour.
Right. Yeah,
And
also
parkour.
and the full version, because this is just the early access version. But it is coming. What month are we now? September. So it's coming in 1 month and 6 days time. And then a little further than 1 month and 6 days. But it turns out we're getting a new Brothers in Arms game.
Oh my god!
Is this something David Schwimmer was in?
Yes.
No, that was the series, Peter.
That was the series Band of Brothers.
That was Band of Brothers. Brothers did like Road to Hill 30 and stuff. It was like the cover-based shooter one.
Can't wait to
That's
see
a
David
Friends
Schwimmer.
clap.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the game? No,
God, this is so much stuff. This was Brothers in Arms from like 20.
This is Brothers in Arms 3.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
This is the Brothers in Arms 3 launch trailer.
What am I thinking of?
You're thinking
I
of
don't know what
Company
you're
of
thinking.
Heroes.
Yeah.
No.
You're thinking of David
thinking
Schwimmer
of
in Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers. You're thinking My Brother, and Me. The successful.
Okay, whatever
You're thinking,
this
Oh Brother,
is
Where
not
Art
like-
Thou?
Yeah.
Is this
You're
Brothers in
thinking.
Arms?
You're thinking
no,
Brother Bear.
Sorry, for anyone listening to the audio, the footage we're seeing here of a game looks very pulpy and arcade-like. Whereas I'm thinking of Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway, Road to Hill 30. Is this
thinking of-
Brothers in Arms 3?
You're thinking of the Mark Wahlberg 2005 joint Four Brothers.
I don't know why I'm bothering.
You're thinking
like,
you're thinking of twins.
Whatever it is, this is like an arcadey sequel version of whatever. The original Brothers in Arms were based off real people from World War II and like actual real life soldiers and their conflicts and where they found themselves like deep behind enemy lines. Someone in chat back me up here. I'm not thinking of Step Brothers. I'm not thinking of Big Brother. Whatever the footage we're seeing here is like clearly a spin-off DS
You think
mobile
it's Super
version
Smash
that they went
Brothers.
stupid with.
So
That was
a mobile game. It was a mobile game.
Yeah.
But I think
Okay.
but being totally serious, I think the thing you were thinking of was Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. So anyway, we're getting a new Brothers in Arms games, and apparently this was stealth announced months ago, and nobody noticed. So Randy Pitchford, who's the head of Gearbox, was on Ted Price. Ted Price has a podcast because Ted Price has from Insomniac Games, because Ted Price is a person with a modicum of fame, and so therefore is legally required to start a podcast. And he had Randy Pitchford on in April. It's called The Game Maker's Notebook. And back in April, this aired, but it only then was uploaded to YouTube this month. And this is where people sort of like really cottoned onto it. They were talking about the topic of studio announcements and like, in the case of, say, Dying Light, the idea of like announcing too early. And Pitchford spoke about how he prefers to reveal games using the release of Borderlands 3 as an example, where he said, quote, I didn't announce Borderlands 3 until like it was in beta. And it sucks because we're working on another Brothers in Arms game, but I'm not saying shit until we have it. We have fans that really love that, and they're just going to have to suffer. Which I think, as all things with Randy Pitchford, is really weird, because it's like, well, you just said it.
You just said it.
Like, you
just
said
walked
it.
right into that trap.
Your own trap. You said your own
You
trap.
said your own trap and you stepped on it.
Such a weird. He's such an enigma. I don't understand. He's like, I don't like to announce games too early, which sucks.
Because
we're
here's a
working
game
on
we're working on that's not ready for
specific
10
game
years.
Title free. Yeah. It's crazy.
Maybe he thought that was clever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, is he 2 levels deep then? I don't.
Maybe.
Or maybe Gus, maybe you were thinking about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood?
Yeah, maybe it was that.
Peter, you got the wrong footage, so don't blame me for.
You got the right footage. No. So, I to be clear, I found the footage. I linked it to
Nick, you got
Pete,
the room.
and the footage was the most recent Brothers in Arms game because I figured it should be the last time we saw this as a series. It's
Fair
a
enough.
numbered sequel produced by Randy Pitchford.
Sorry,
who
is this not
will
a Brothers
say
in
shit.
Arms game? Is this
Yeah.
not a Brothers in Arms game, Angus? I'm sorry, Angus.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Let's take.
Are we looking at the Blues Brothers?
I would like to think it's been long enough between the games coming out that they're going to go back to what made this series good, which was being a very like grounded military game. I had no idea this even existed, and this looks like a complete arcade spin-off of that series. And so
I think this looks great.
offended the man with the buttons.
He's just being contrarian now. Though I do think we all agree that the best thing about the original game was Matt Damon's terrible haircut in The Brothers Grimm. Okay, so that's it. That's it for the news. We're going to let Gus go, and during the ad break coming up, he's going to yell at us for a while, and then we're all going to...
I'm going to go watch the Disney film
Bring
Brother
it back
Bear.
around.
all right, so that is literally all the video game news that happened this week.